So here I've went ahead and opened up Adobe Illustrator, and I just wanted to go over the interface of the program. And before I do that, I just wanted to say that all the Adobe 2D graphics programs share a really identical interface. So once you become familiar with one of them, like Photoshop or InDesign, it's really easy to pick up and learn the others. So um, stick through this, and this will be easier to pick up on with the other programs. Okay, so just a general layout. So this big gray window we're looking at is called the application frame. And so like other programs, the frame can be minimized and maximized. We can also close out the program if we wanted to. And above that is the application bar. So this is where we can find basically everything that we would find here amongst the icons for the tools and the panels. We can also find up here in the application bar. Okay, right below the application bar, okay, is this long rectangular space up here. This is called the control bar. So this is a dynamic bar that changes based on the tools and the panels that we're using. So let's say I come over here and I start to actually draw some vector paths. We can see up here in the control panel that there are values that are changing with every click. And I can come in here and actually start to modify these vector paths just from the control panel up here. For instance, I can, reset the corners, okay, on this path that I just drew. Okay, and I can come in here and I have some more options for aligning it on the coordinates and changing its relative values. So that's what the control panel does. It's kind of like an extension of the tools and the other panels that we're using. So over here on the left, this is our tool panel. Okay, and so this is where we are going to actually create vector paths and other things for image creation. The general layout is the selection tools on top, the drawing tools right below that, the modify and transform tools below that, and the coloring tools below that. We also have our graphing and our symbols tools and our navigation tools right below those. Over here, this is called a fill, and then right behind that is a stroke. So we will go over that more in detail. These also relate to fill and stroke. Finally, below here, this is for our screen modes, and we'll go over that. Over here on the left, these are all our window panels. So all these window panels can be found up over here in the window menu. So if you ever can't find one of these panels or icons, you can just come up here and there's an itemized list. So with the panels, these are docked right now, but if I were to click on one of these panels, okay, it would toggle it open, and they are organized into tabs. Okay, but each one of these tabs is dynamic. So if I click and hold down on that swatches tab and pull off of that, okay, it now becomes a floating panel. I can adjust the size of that panel. I can even throw it back into the dock. So I just look for a blue highlight. I'm still holding down on my mouse key, and then I can release, and it puts it back into that tab panel. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that off, and then I'll go ahead and pull off the brushes panel and my symbols panel. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually changing my workspace. So we'll go over that in just a little bit. Okay, so this large white area that we're looking at right here, this is called our artboard. This is where we're going to do most of our vector creation. This just defines kind of the printable area, or the area that is defined in a PDF as a page. That's what this area is all about. Then right outside of that is our workable area, and it's the dark gray. It's right down here. This is called our status bar. So this bar is going to change based on our view. So right now we can see that we're at 127%, and it also changes based on the artboard we're using. Our tools can also expand out. So anytime you see a tool icon and you see a small triangle on the bottom right, if I click and hold down on that tool, you'll see it'll expand into a number of variations of that tool. So for instance, this line segment tool actually has a couple more variations associated with that. If I actually hover over here to the very right of this collection of similar tools, there's a bar that will detach the tool from the dock. So if I just let go of the mouse, you can see I now have a floating tool panel. So I could come over here with the paintbrush tool and hold down, and I could come all the way over here to this bar to where it highlights, and then release, and now I have a floating panel that I can reposition. To point out in this interface relates to the panels again. Right here, I'll just take the swatches panel as an example. So there's a lot of things going on with these panels that's worth noting. So most of these panels, again, you can close them out, okay, or you can collapse them with these icons. But then right below that, you'll see a series of parallel horizontal lines. This is called the options icon right here. And this is an important icon that gives you all kinds of different options for what you want to do with a collection of tools or swatches. So if I click on this one, you can see that I can kind of go through a big list of different options with this panel. One thing I'm going to do right here is I'm going to change from a small thumbnail view to a large thumbnail view. And now it's kind of easier for me to see and pick out the different colors that I might need to use. So below that, you're going to see some really common icons in these panels. Right here in the very right, this is called the trash or delete icon. So if I click on one of these and then I hit that delete icon, okay, it's going to ask if I want to delete that swatch. Okay, and then over here is the new icon. So this is very similar for a lot of different panels. I also have a group icon where I can group different things together. And then this is very similar to what we just clicked on over there, the options icon. I can kind of get more options related to specific swatches and also access different libraries of tools and swatches and different things. That's this icon way over here. It's called the libraries menu. So I'll just click on that. You can kind of see this is like a database of all kinds of different pre-made colors and patterns and textures. So just know your panels have a lot more than what you're just seeing first glance. So as I've been going through and changing the panels over here, I've been taking them off of the dock and moving them into the workspace, and I've been taking the tools off. What I'm doing is I'm actually modifying the workspace and I'm kind of making it into my own. If we look right up here in the window menu and we go down to the workspace, okay, we can see that by default we're on what's called Essentials workspace. But if we were to actually click on some of these other ones, for instance layout, okay, we're going to see our entire workspace kind of change a little bit. And each one of these workspaces are dedicated to like a different kind of work that you might be doing in Illustrator. So for instance, if you deal a lot with typography, you might like the default typography workspace, which is more geared towards type and fonts. So just know that you can come in here, and if you, for instance, open Illustrator and you have a workspace that you are unfamiliar with and you don't like, what I like to do is I come in and I go to the workspace. So what I like to do is I come in here, and instead of going to the window menu, I come over right here. This is giving me the kind of workspace I'm working in. So if I click on that, I can go back to my essentials. And sometimes that's not even enough to reset all of my panels back into place. So if I actually click on that again, there's one more option for reset essentials. So I'll go ahead and click on that. And now we've basically come back to the Adobe Illustrator default workspace. Now, let's say I start creating a different workspace and it's something that I'm going to be working with a lot. Let's say I have these panels out the way I like them. I'm not going to use the libraries panel, so I'll collapse that and I'll move these kind of over. And they kind of snap into place as you move them. So here you can see that blue line, it's going to actually attach those together. So now these all kind of move as one. And I'll come over here, I'll actually toggle open all the pen tool options. Okay, and I'll pull that out. So let's say I like this workspace and I want to continue to use it when I open up Illustrator. What I can do is I can come over here, okay, to the workspace icon up in the control bar. I can click on that, and right below the Reset Essentials, there's a new workspace option. So I'll go ahead and click on that, and I'm going to name it Nick's Workspace, and I'll click OK. And so you can see that changed the name up here. Now it actually lists Nick's Workspace. And if I wanted to, I can kind of test it out. I can go back to Layout, Workspace, and then come back to my own workspace, which is listed in the very beginning now. And here you can see it goes right back to the tools and panels that I had pulled out. I can also come back into here and I can go to the Manage Workspaces. And it will give me a list of the custom workspaces that I've created. I could create a new one, or I could delete this one. So if I wanted to, I could delete the workspace. So I'll just go ahead and say yes.